Hi everybody, and welcome back for Chapter 2 of The Secret of Goldenrod. I hope that you're all having a good day, and I hope at this point you've listened to Chapter 1 and we can review it today a little bit. But first I just wanted to have a little chat with you and let you know again that I'm thinking about you and the whole management team from Best is thinking about you. And we want to encourage you to find some fun things to do during this time. We've posted some things on our website and a Facebook page that you can link onto, fun activities. And I was thinking this morning about some things that I'm grateful for. Sometimes when there's bad things happening around us, it's hard to remember to be grateful, but we do have so many things to be grateful for. Even if it's just little things, like I'm grateful for my little cherry limeade that I have right now, because it's really yummy. And I hope that you all have a nice, cozy place to snuggle in and get ready to listen. And the first chapter that we read was about Trina and her father moved to this dilapidated old home that her father's been contracted to fix up to resell. And when they got there, Trina had pictured a beautiful kind of mansion place, and it's a very large home, but it's been let to be run down, so it doesn't look so good anymore. And when she got in the house, she kind of felt like something was watching her, like maybe it might be haunted. So here we go into chapter 2. Let's see what happens. Trina finished her sandwich alone, leaning over the sink and looking out through the ancient rippled glass beyond the overgrown field to a grove of trees and acres away. No neighbors, no roads, no nothing. Even when they lived in the outskirts of Santa Fe, they had neighbors. Neighbors she could wave at, neighbors with friendly dogs. And when they lived up in the hills in Portland, she could see the city lights glimmering like stars when she walked outside at night. But from the kitchen window at Goldenrod, all Trina could see was the endless ocean of yellow weeds. Not even flowers. Weeds. At least she could look forward to school. For the first time in her life, she'd get to stay in one place long enough to make some friends. "One friend, that's all I ask," Trina said to the window. The ceiling light flickered, and Trina whirled around and looked up. If Papa were home, he'd just tell her it was a loose bulb, but Trina wondered if the house was somehow listening to her. But now she was scaring herself, and she didn't want to be scared if she was going to be alone in the biggest, darkest, creepiest house she'd ever set foot in. She wanted to be strong and grown up. "There's no such thing as a haunted house," she said out loud in the kitchen, and the light flickered again. Ignoring the light, she stomped straight through the house and outside. She found a branch beneath the oak tree, wedged open the front door with it, and fought through the goldenrod to get to the trailer. She set up the cardboard table in the dining room, followed by the folding chairs. By the time she made the trip for the fourth chair, she had flattened the weeds into a thick, yellow-green path. Next was the laundry basket full of pillows, sheets, and towels, and then a box with their spaghetti pot, 2 saucepans, a frying pan, and a bunch of other cooking stuff. Everything fit into a single cupboard. She was down to their bags of clothes. The time had come to pick out her room. Trina slung her backpack over her shoulder and grabbed her duffel bag. She looked up at Goldenrod's second-floor windows, convinced herself that she had only imagined someone was watching her, and trudged forward. With dull, heavy thuds, she dragged the duffel bag up the plank steps and slid it across the foyer to the bottom of the stairs. She turned on the light, hoping it would brighten the dark stairwell, but instead it cast elongated shadows of the railing and spindles, like a scene in an old black and white horror movie. "I can do this," she told herself. She was almost 11. She was going into the 5th grade. She wasn't a little girl anymore. "I'm moving in," she announced to the house, "whether you like it or not." She bumped her way up to the landing and forced herself to keep going up the mountain of stairs. The air got hotter and hotter and thicker. Panting by the time she got to the top, she let her backpack slide down her sweaty arm to the floor, sat on her duffel bag, leaned back on the railing, overwhelmed by the heat and the loneliness and the size of this house. She was sitting in a gloomy hallway surrounded by doors. A lot of doors. She decided to start at one end of the hall and work her way around the circle. But the first thing she did after she pushed herself up was to peer over the railing. She could see all the way down to the foyer. "Hello," she said. "Hello, oh. Her distorted voice answered. She was glad to hear only her voice come back to her. But when it seemed the echoes might never stop, she wished she hadn't said anything at all. She opened the door nearest the stairs to a very large room with 3 boarded-up windows and a window seat that ran beneath them. When she turned on the light, a small crystal chandelier did its best to sparkle, and Trina could see that the woodwork was painted white. It was a pretty room, even if the paint was peeling, and it was perfect for a woman of the house, perfect for her mother maybe, someday. The next room, a huge room with a fireplace, also had 3 boarded-up windows, but it was paneled with a very dark wood, just like the smoking room. It was perfect for the man of the house, perfect for her dad. Opposite the stairwell was an ordinary room that didn't feel at all like the other rooms, or like a room that she would want to live in for a whole year. So she crossed the hall and opened 2 doors right in a row to identical small square rooms. "They sure must have had a lot of kids," she said, quietly enough to avoid an echo. Then the hall narrowed, leading to 2 boarded-up windows with another window seat. Trina walked softly toward the windows, listening carefully, making sure the only footsteps she heard were her own. To her relief, she came upon the servants' staircase again. She liked knowing there was another way out of the house, just in case. Next to the servants' stairs was a door, but when Trina turned the doorknob, the door wouldn't budge. She pushed and pulled, and finally yanked it open, only to be met with a blast of hot dust that swirled around her and another dark, narrow staircase. She knew attic stairs when she saw them. "I'm never going up there," she said out loud. The door creaked and she slammed it shut. The next door opened to nothing but a big closet. But the door across from the closet opened to an enormous bathroom with a fancy white tub and a raised platform, a sink with curved legs, and a toilet with a tank that was mounted so high up on the wall that it nearly touched the ceiling. A chain hung from the tank. As soon as Trina pulled it, she wished she hadn't. The walls rattled, the water squealed through the pipes, and Trina watched with dread as the water in the toilet churned with the force of opened fire hydrant. She crossed her fingers that she hadn't broken the plumbing and closed the door, certain she had just encountered one of the surprises her dad was talking about. Now there was only one room left to go. Trina turned the knob and opened the door. In the faint light from the hall, she could tell this was not too big and not too small. She eagerly stepped in, and immediately from the corner of her eye, she saw something move. She froze in place and kept her breaths soft and shallow, waiting and listening. Nothing. Nothing except her own pulse pounding against her eardrums as her heart raced. Maybe she was seeing things. "I'm not afraid of you," she said to the silence. She took another step in, and it, whatever it was, moved again. Her heart beat faster and faster. She backed up slowly, only to bump into the door. Stumbling, she watched as the thing kept moving, faster now, frantically. Trina was frantic too, trying to get away, until she realized whatever it was moved when she did. She covered her mouth with her hand and watched herself cover her mouth. The scary creature was not a ghost or a monster. It was her own reflection in the mirror. When she finally found the light switch and the source glowed, she discovered that the walls were covered with pale pink wallpaper, and the woodwork was painted white. Even the fireplace was painted white. Toward the far end of the room, mounted on the wall, was a mirror. It rose from the floor to the ceiling, and it was wider than the window. Its white frame was carved with little fine animals, ducklings, kittens, birds, and horses, linked together with a cluster of delicate flowers. Goldenrod, of course. And it was rimmed with at least a dozen tarnished curlicue hooks that she could hang things on. Feeling a little like Goldilocks, she decided that this room felt just right. So she went out into the hall and grabbed her duffel bag and backpack. The first thing she unpacked was the stack of postcards from her mother. She piled them on the fireplace mantel, and then she set her snow globe of skiers on the Rocky Mountains next to them. In front of the snow globe, she lined up pieces of sea glass that she'd found on the shore of Lake Superior. Her softball glove was next, followed by her collection of baseball cards, or caps. She hung them one by one on the hooks around the big mirror. Minnesota Twins, Seattle Mariners, Milwaukee Brewers, Colorado Rockies. Wondering who she'd be rooting for while she lived in